Welcome back, traders. Last week was a pretty crazy week with a huge sell-off in the indices, and this week is setting up for some very big moves. I'm going to break down the key currency pairs I'm watching this week, and I've got some juicy trade setups you won't want to miss. Whether you're trading the Asian, London, or New York sessions, this one is for you. So if you're tired of missing all the big moves, then this is your wake-up call. Let's dive into the action right now. So let's take a look at all of my trade ideas for this week, and we're going to start with the yen pairs. So the end of last week, we saw some real strength come into every yen pair, right? And we need to understand why that is. And to do that, we're going to look at the NASDAQ, because basically, guys, we have had a huge sell-off in the indices. That is a weekly candle, and that is uber bearish, more bearish than Yogi Bear. So all of this selling pressure in the indices basically means Japanese yen becomes strong because it's a flight to safety. Generally speaking, when the indices do that, yen does this. Okay, there's a correlation you must be aware of, and that's what we're seeing. And if you look at any of the indices, S&P, big sell-off, Dow Jones, huge sell-off, right? And the indices would be some sell trades this week as a result. But what we're interested in is yen. So let's look at Aussie dollar yen, the first one, because pretty much, guys, just looking at all my trade ideas here, pound yen sells, euro yen sells, Swiss franc yen sells, Aussie dollar yen sells, CAD yen sells. You get the idea, right? We want to capitalize on this yen strength. But I prefer some over the others, right? And Aussie dollar yen is one yen pair that I really like for a couple of reasons, right? So first and foremost, guys, with these yen pairs, we are in a weekly uptrend, right? This is where we're at. Okay, so we are in a weekly uptrend. It's worth pointing that out. But in terms of next week and that time horizon, we've got enough time to sell yen or to buy yen strength. So we're in an uptrend, but we've had this huge weekly bearish candle. And then if we drop down to the day chart, we've also broken out of this key trend line. Yeah, you can see this trend line. Price has been tracking it all the way up, even here. And then we just broke down, right? You know, there was obviously, it was on the back of NFPs, and there was certain news that drove this yen strength, but ultimately the indices dropping. And also on the day chart, what we really like is we've just had a daily structure break, right? So we've had a daily structure break. We've broke these lows. We've broken out of this trend line, right? So structurally, we love this trade. And we've got this nice big bearish candle with lots of room to move into. If I think of a target, I would go to the weekly chart, and you know, the moving average 20 is always a pretty good area to aim for. That gives us room to move into, right? So Aussie dollar yen is one yen pair that I really like. Now, I want to compare it to a yen pair that I still like, but not as much. So if we look at euro yen, for example, right? Again, on the weekly, we're in an uptrend, right? This is true of all the yen pairs we're looking at, right? But just look at that sell-off, okay? And then look at all the room we have to move into, right? Back down to the moving average 20. So we want to sell it, right? And if we look at the day chart, you'll see what I mean. You'll see how Aussie dollar yen was so clean from a price action point of view. We had a structure break, broke out of a trend line. Now, this too has broken down, right? Clearly, we was in an uptrend and we're now in a downtrend, right? We're getting lower highs on the daily and lower lows. It's just, for me, it's these two candles combined, right? There's some real conflict going on there, but ultimately we want to sell euro yen. But you can see how it's not as clean cut as Aussie dollar yen. Another one I really like is CAD yen, right? It's very similar to Aussie dollar yen, right? We were tracking this uptrend and then bang, right? We've just broken these lows. Okay, we've got a humongously bearish red candle and we've got some room to move into. Okay, so it doesn't look like a lot of room, guys, but that is still a good 50 pips. And we would be waiting for a retrace anyway, right? We'd be looking for a retrace into here and then take it lower. So this blue level would be my target, because if I zoom out, you can see how this trend line has been obeyed, right? It's been obeyed, obeyed, obeyed. Chances are it will be obeyed again. Okay. So yeah, but like I say, guys, any yen pair, pound yen, Swiss franc yen, also New Zealand dollar yen, we would sell all of these. So that's the yen pairs, guys. And obviously the indices are the instigator of that yen strength. Now, the next one I want to look at is US dollar yen. Is US dollar. Okay, now before we do, guys, if I could please ask everyone to subscribe to the channel, smash the notification button, and please smash that like button. If you haven't already, please come join our trading community. We've got a free Discord channel. You just come in, join, and you can chat, share trade ideas, have a lovely time. Also, guys, if you want access to all of our premium trading education, including our course, including the VIP Trading Academy, including the mentorship program where I coach you one-on-one, and including our new price action indicator, then go check out our website, www.simply-forex.com. All the information is below. And also, guys, please leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. What do you think of my trade ideas this week? What are you looking at? What do you need help with in trading? Leave your comments below. Right, US dollar. Let's take a look at this bad boy. Now, answers on a postcard as to what to do with the US dollar, right? Because the US dollar, for me, is all about weekly chart versus the daily chart, right? This is the problem we're having, and I will elaborate on what I mean right now, because this is why you're here, right? So weekly versus daily, okay? Now, if I look at the daily Aussie dollar, for example, this is the problem I have with US dollar at the moment, right? We was in an uptrend, and then it comes storming down, and we're now in a downtrend, right? We broke these lows in here. We're getting lower lows. We're in a downtrend. Now, looking at this chart, I would want to sell this right now. I would want to sell it back down to these lows, right? This area of support. But if I look at the weekly chart, right, we're in a weekly uptrend, okay, and we've just literally bounced off the moving average 20 with not a super big push off, but the fact that this wick has closed back into this wick, right? So the weekly, if anything, I would buy it, right? Based on trend, based on bouncing off the moving average 20. So you can see what I mean, guys. There's real conflict between weekly and daily on US dollar pairs. And it's pretty much on all of them, right? If we look at Euro US dollar, again, let's start with the weekly this time. This is the weekly chart. And again, if we just track trend and structure, so we're in an uptrend. Yeah, we're getting higher lows, potentially here, higher highs, right? And we've got this nice big bullish wick bouncing off the moving average 20 and even closing back into this support level, right? So everything's telling me on the weekly to buy this back up to these highs. Now, look at that, right? And you'll be like, yes, Tom, I agree, let's buy it. And now look at the daily. You'll be like, Tom, let's sell it. Okay, because if we just follow structure, right, you can see we are in this downtrend and we're at a really nice level of what was once support becomes resistance. Moving average 20 coming round. This looks like a really nice sell trade. So weekly and daily are like night and day with these US dollar pairs. Another one is gold, right? Because gold is a US dollar pair, and gold will obviously become strong like yen, right? It's a flight to safety, and you can see that this just stormed up. This is the daily chart, and on Friday, on the back of those NFPs, indices coming down, gold got strong. It is a flight to safety. Gold is strong, yen is usually strong, right? Although correlations have been breaking a little bit recently. Now, if I look at the day chart, yeah, we were tracking this trend line, okay, and then we broke this trend line, and now we've retraced to a really nice level of resistance and where this trend line was. Now, if I started getting bearish reactions in here, yeah, candles like this, right, I would look to sell gold, right? But again, if we look at the weekly chart, right, we've just had a massive weekly candle bounce off of the moving average 20, and we're in an uptrend. Yeah, so I would look to buy that. So US dollar's really tricky at the moment. And what sums US dollar up beautifully are these two candles. Look at that. 1 week, nothing but sellers. Next week, nothing but buyers, right? So you can see the confusion with US dollar at the moment. So the last thing we're going to look at is the Dixie, right? Now, again, let's look at the weekly chart, right? Because it's just night and day with the day chart. So obviously, if you're trading the US dollar, always take a look at the dollar index, guys, right? And this is the weekly chart, and we are in a downtrend. Okay, we actually held on to this level of resistance here. We've got the moving average 20 coming down, which is dynamic resistance. And you can see this big wick rejection at that level. If I just traded the dollar index, I would look to sell that, right? But again, compare that to the day chart. Okay, I know we've had this big bearish candle. We've had this sell-off. I can see that. But all it's really done is come back to a really nice support level, right? This was once resistance. It becomes very nice support, right? If we started getting bullish reactions in around here, right, I would look to buy that. So US dollar, we'll see how the week plays out, but it's tricky for those reasons, guys, right? Stay tuned because I've still got some more trade ideas, starting with pound US dollar. So out of all the US dollar pairs, the only one that is really clear to me, right, is pound US dollar sells. All the others had that daily, weekly conflict. Now, if we start with the weekly, this doesn't have that, right? Because we have broken down. So this is the weekly chart on pound US dollar. Okay, this is where we're at in an uptrend, and then bang, right? As soon as we've broken all of these lows in here with this candle, we are now in a weekly downtrend. Okay, we're starting to track below the moving average 20 as well. If anything, guys, you could say there was a small head and shoulders in here, right? Shoulder, shoulder, head, knees and toes, knees and toes. Apologies for the joke. And we've broken the neckline, right? So this is a head and shoulders pattern. And a head and shoulders pattern, the textbook version says, whatever this distance is between here and here, we can do that again, right? But price doesn't always act like a textbook, right? So pound US dollar weekly chart is a sell trade. And then if we look at the daily as well, we're in a downtrend, right? Clearly. We're bouncing off this weekly support, right? We've had a nice big bullish candle. We don't want to start selling into that. But if price tracks back up into here, we know this is support and therefore will become resistance. We've got the moving average 20 coming round. We've got a really nice sell trade in here somewhere next week. Okay, so pound US dollar sells is also a trade idea. And then the other one we're looking at, guys, is pound New Zealand dollar. Now, the people in my VIP Discord will be saying, Tom, pound New Zealand dollar has been your nemesis. And I would agree, but it's still setting up, right? So if we look at pound New Zealand dollar, we have been in this range. Okay, so weekly chart price has just been ranging. But we haven't quite made it back down to the bottom of this range. And we've got a nice big bearish candle. The next candle doesn't really tell me buyers have taken control back. This candle tells me sellers are still dominant. And then if we drop back to the day chart, this also supports this idea because we are in a downtrend, right? We're in a downtrend. You can see price has found this level as resistance. We've got the moving average 20 coming round. We're in a downtrend. It's looking like this could be a pretty good area to start selling all the way back down to the bottom of that range. And generally speaking, guys, what I'll be looking for is a H4 structure break. Yeah, so as you can see, I mean, it's pretty scruffy at the moment, but maybe if we get something like this and then we get a break, right, I will be looking to sell. So they're the pound pairs I'm looking at, this pound weakness. There is one more trade I'm looking at. I'm just looking at all my trades, guys. Yeah, let's take a look at one more trade. Before I do, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, smash the notification button and smash the like button. Also, guys, check out our free Discord. Come and join it and check out the website for all of our premium education. And also leave a comment below. We would love to hear from you and it helps support the vid. The last one is New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar, right? Let's go to the weekly chart because this is also in a range, right? Price pushed up and then we have just been chopping around like a lumberjack, right? But the idea is to potentially take price back to the top of the range and this blue level here, this 83,000 psychological level. Now, I hear you. You're saying, Tom, that is a pretty bearish weekly candle. I would agree. But, right, this level is still holding and we keep getting wick rejections down here. And on the day chart, right, it's also potentially starting to range a little bit, right, between here and here. So again, we've got this nice big bullish bounce off that level. I'll be looking to take price back up to here, if not all the way back up to here. And again, guys, I'm generally looking for H4 structure breaks. So if I get a break of this level, right, nice. So you can see if we just track structure, if we get a break of this, I will be looking to buy New Zealand dollar, Canadian dollar. And that is it, guys. That is all of my trade ideas. Hope you've enjoyed the vid. If you have, please come join us, share it, like it, do things with it. Have a great trading week, guys, and I'll see you soon. Come join me for the live streams Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 8 a.m. New York EST. See you then.